My name's Aaron, welcome back to my channel. How are you? I'm fantastic and I'm doing really well. Today I am doing a really interesting review which is Tom Ford Velvet Orchid, and I'm comparing it to Black Orchid, which is I'm quite in reverence of and I love very much because it has a lot of amazing memories to it. This is £61 for 30ml, £85 for 50ml and £120 for 100ml. The notes are Italian bergamot, mandarin, rum absolute, Turkish rose, orchid, black orchid, orange blossom, rose, heliotropin, labdamen, balsam, myrrh, suede, vanilla. Yeah. Do we have our little 10ml bottles that we engage with our highest self? Let's get testing. So I love Black Orchid very much and I consider it a real technical masterpiece because for me it's always felt perfect because it's very high in patchouli and ylang-ylang and bergamot and sort of really soft woods, and I've always really loved it. And this is the fragrance. When I was studying, I used to buy half bottles off eBay because I had no money at all and I used to save it for special occasions. I've always loved patchouli, so I love it very much. And then Tom Ford started bringing out all the flankers to do with it and I have not yet smelt it. I really hope they're going to do it justice for all of that spiel. I think Black Orchid is still a testimony to brilliance. I think the cinnamon notes and the sort of the ginger notes and all of that, I think it's just absolutely gorgeous. I think it's really unisex actually. I think it's dark, deep and sensual. And one thing I want to say is actually Orchid does not have any smell at all. So very clever perfumers have to think about how they would create a orchid accord, and that generally be done through, I would say, something like DMBCA, which is an acetate, and you would have butyrates, which is sort of plum notes, and then you would have fruit notes, and you would have sort of cinnamon, all that sort of stuff, and a few wood molecules as well would give you the feel of something plant-like and sort of dark. Very, very clever perfumery. I think it's quite groundbreaking actually. This isn't that to be more feminine actually. It still has the orchid note in it, but it's been built with much more elevation, and the hedione, the isosuper, the ethyl linalool, which is a fixative and has more of an expansive quality to than linalool, I find, in formulations. That's very interesting that the ethyl group creates a more of an expansive quality. Dry, it's also much drier. This is slightly more incensey, I feel, so they are working with more eugenol, some balsams, and patchouli of course, and some sort of sandalwood like raw materials. I mean, it smells undoubtedly like Tom Ford, and I think how I might wear these is layered actually, or laid over the perfume would be fantastic. The perfume is very flat and heavy. This, which seems to be very, very top heavy and expansive, laid over the perfume would be excellent. So if you've got the perfume and you're finding it heavy and not really doing much, applying the Velvet Orchid over the top would give it that expansive quality that the perfume is sort of missing. It's very freesia-like and indolic. Yes, there is hydroxycitronellal, which is giving that sort of major, that sort of lily feel with the citronellal. All of Tom Ford's work is stable, and that's one thing which, even if you don't really like it, it stays very stable and linear. It doesn't really evolve and move. I think Black Orchid does. I just think it's gorgeous. I think Black Orchid is really, for me, it's perfect. This is very full of hedione. You can smell the hedione because it has that headiness to it, and I would imagine the must they're using is to help with this sort of flicking and moving feel, dealing with the bloom with the fragrance. This is lots of bloom, which means you're getting that sort of topness to it, that sort of rich floral topness moving through, but it's very, very top heavy. It has a smooth, I can understand why it's called Velvet Orchid, because it's very smooth. It has a smoothness to it. And I'd imagine that's to do with adding Bretellide or one of the nitromus to it actually. That has a smoothing, softening effect. On to my final thoughts. It's okay. I love the Black Orchid because I really felt like it was quite unisex actually, and I really enjoyed it, and I love the amount of patchouli in it, and the ylang ylang and the ginger and the sort cinnamon sort of. It gives it just a beautiful feel to it, and I think it's so well balanced. I think it's going to be really hard to top, actually. I think it's quite a masterpiece, actually, and I think any perfumer is going to have the work cut out with it. The only way to improve it in my mind would be to add a lot of floral absolutes like rose and oud, of course, and vanilla absolute. That's sort of what I would do with it, but I would put the price would go up massively for adding, you know, those sort of crazy things to it. This is drying very soapy, and actually it's not too good, and that's why I think I would apply this over the top of the perfume. Actually, I think it would balance it. This is smelling undoubtedly hydroxy citronella, floral. It just smells very floral and very bloom-like, actually. It has some sort of aqueous properties in it at all to make it sort of smell dewy. But I absolutely think this is fantastic for people who perhaps want to smell sort of a lighter, darker scent, if that sort of makes sense. Not everybody wants full throttle darkness and full throttle patchouli, and I really understand that, and I think this would be fantastic for people who perhaps want to smell they're moving into sort of darkness but staying with sort of heavy florals. This smells very clean, so there is a cleanness to this one that is not in this one, and I think that for men out there who love very clean, soapy florals with hints of patchouli, this would be perfect for you. It has a violet nuance to it, actually. I tell you one thing I really admire. As you know, people who have been following me for quite a while, there are some compounds which I really dislike but are really important, and the ionones are, when they're used correctly, they're fantastic, and you can't really detect them, but I can sort of feel them. And the ionones in this are really good. They're just really, really well done. I mean, I'm still in awe of this, and I would love to create something just of this, what I consider a masterpiece, and this sort of beauty and darkness. I would just love to do that. That to me is personally something I'm striving towards doing. I think it's okay. So I'm going to go through marks for you. The first for marks, technical ability, whether the box is legal, all that stuff. Yes, absolutely, it's a 4 out of 4. The price, I think it's dead on the price, actually, so I give it a 2 out of 2. Do I like it? It's not for me, but I think it's very good. And how I'd recommend it is applying it over, this would be brilliant over my Santal Extreme or brilliant over the perfume version. It needs to be based out much, much more. But for people who want that light, fluffy, ozonic sort of quality with a bit of darkness, I think this is absolutely for you. I'm going to mark it a 7 out of 10 and the 3 marks off because I personally really dislike sort of very ozonic sort of hydroxy citronella, all of that sort of stuff, and I wouldn't reach for it personally. But if this was based out much more, I think I would appreciate it much more. So there you go, my friends. Hope you loved that review. Thumbs up and subscribe for more fascinating, interesting content, tinking glass bottles, and lots of fragrance reviews. Hope you're staying safe and well, and I'll see you soon.